Welcome to Attention Retention with Jackie McManus, your source for the latest trends in transportation recruitment and retention.
Welcome to Attention Retention. I am Jackie McManus, CEO and founder of KJ Media. We are a recruitment advertising agency specializing in talent attraction, optimizing your hiring process, and driving efficiency to help grow your workforce in the trucking industry. And on this show, we dive into the world of recruitment, retention, recognition, and specifically on this show, we'll be diving into safety. By interviewing industry leaders and experts as we impact the strategies, the challenges, and the successes surrounding these really crucial aspects of workforce management. And this week, I am so excited to be joined by Greta, recruiting manager at Kriska Transportation Group, and Mike, the director of safety and compliance at Transport Freight Systems, one of the many companies under the Kriska Transportation umbrella. Mike and Greta, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And
thank you.
You know, one of Ontario's leading transportation companies since 1978, Kriska Transportation Group, boasts one of the youngest fleets, meaning no tractor trailer under over 3 years old, professionalism, prioritizes safety, and as an 8-time winner of the Shipper's Choice Award and platinum members of Canada's 50 Best Managed Companies, the professionalism speaks volumes for itself. And so I would absolutely love if Greta, if you could share your background and before we jump into the 3 R's and share to the audience a little bit more about you and the company, and then Mike, we'll turn it to you.
Thank you. I joined Kriska Holdings back in 2014 as a part of a recruiting team. And as we were expanding, because in 2014 we joined Frolick Group to create Kriska Transportation Group. So we were expanding pretty much since the day that I stepped in Kriska Holdings. Several years later, I was approached with helping to organize centralized recruiting in 2019. We grew up, we were just one, and I am managing the department since then.
Fantastic. And Mike, you just celebrated, I believe that you saw 17 years, is that right, with the group? Fantastic. Well, if you could introduce yourself and share how you became the director of safety and compliance at Transpro, the umbrella company, that would be great with the audience.
Thank you, Jackie. My former background is I drove commercial vehicle across Canada and USA for 22 years, which I'm proud to say collision-free. And it was at one point, there was a change in my career, and I was led into a role in assisting our safety department, and I took my courses, and I was with a local carriage company for a while, and then I came to Transpro in 2007, and I've been there ever since. And then Kriska Transportation Group had acquired Transpro in 2015, and you know, I was the director of safety before then. I was a safety manager, and then I took my courses through NATME, and I ended up receiving my certification for a certified director of safety, and I've been that with Transpro under the Kriska Transportation Leadership Group since.
Fantastic. And Mike, in 2023, you received a very prestigious award, and congratulations to you. And that is not an easy task in this industry, and safety being one of the biggest priorities for drivers. I'm excited to dive in and learn more about what you guys do and share these tips with our audience. But I really want to start off with the first R, recruiting. That's really where it all starts, right? And with the size of the group, there are different facets, different drivers that you're hiring. But Greta, let's kick it off with you. What have you found to be some of the more successful approaches in recruiting drivers in today's market?
As you said, the company is very well known. Today we're at the point that we deliver directly from US to all points along Highway 401, from Windsor to Toronto to Montreal. We also connect the Atlantic seaboard to Quebec. Our transportation corridor, it covers an area of over 18 million people, which is almost half of the population of Canada.
Yeah,
Our
that's quite
warehouse,
large.
yeah, our warehouses and the yards are very strategically placed, and we can do next day deliveries to 94% of Ontario's and 65% of Quebec's population. Operating about 150, 100, I'm sorry, our drivers are about 850, operating more than 800 trucks and 2,000 trailers. So this for itself, the variety of loads that we are moving, we have anything from we have the LTL and the full load, we have the refrigerated, we have the automotive division, intramodal, drive-in, you name it, it's within the group, within the sister companies. So that gives us the opportunity, like our pool of drivers, it's huge because there is something for everyone. Digital
Right.
media is the answer of advertising. This is how we approach our drivers faster, considering the majority of their life is on their phone, and this is their only link to the outside world, considering the lifestyle that they have. So digital media has always been the answer to the way we advertise our positions. Challenges, we have months that we're generating about 3,000 to 4,000 applications. We must be doing something right. Um,
Absolutely.
Again, with the proper people, which is a key to have the recruiting team at the beginning to open the door. I'm happy to say that our fleets are full. Um, we do experience the challenges of the industry as everyone else. We know that recruiting and the industry goes up and down every few years.
Hmm.
But not such a challenge for us. Um,
That's incredible in today's market. Even though we are in a softer freight economy, as we all know, we've been in that this longer than the actual pandemic itself. That essentially having that pool of candidates, whether you're nurturing them consistently, but also having other opportunities, that definitely gives you a leg up, right, against the competitors in this space. But how do you go about, there's a lot of AI, right, in today's, and automatic, SMS and emails, and with the size of the group that you manage, and having all these different verticals underneath, how do you go about managing these driver qualifications and the unqualified, if you will, drivers through communication?
um, and the electronic world, it's something that you can use to your advantage, and at the same time keep it personal. So the key with me to capture this number of applications, which is humongous, with the smaller team, is that we are using the centralized software, TruckRight, and TruckRight has been the heart of recruiting for Kriska Transportation Group. Our platform is centralized, so I have access to the entire group of companies at the same time, which makes it easy for us to filter the proper fit to the proper company. But another key, which is, one of our strengths, is that also the software, allows us to um, automate the basic tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So we can free up the HR hours and our own time to personalize, that touch with every driver, because everyone that approaches us and apply and, spend 5 minutes online to provide us with something deserves an answer. So we apply the proper filters. We have an amazing database, over 60,000 files right now. Um,
Wow.
with one click, we are able to reach each and every one of our prospects. And we call prospects the people that didn't start with us for one reason or
Mhm.
another, but a new package comes along. It's one click, free
Mhm.
to have this data and advertise with drivers, and or just say hello, happy holidays,
Right.
how you doing? We have an
Mhm.
open opportunity. Everything goes back to, as I said, the heart of our recruiting, which is truck right. As I, we only need one platform to do all of this. We post directly on Indeed. We involve our marketing department. We review regularly our job descriptions to make sure that we represent the needs properly. I work very close with Mike, for example, as well as the other safety from the companies, again, to make sure giving the true information from the beginning helps the driver makes a comfortable decision if they wish to join you or not.
That's fantastic, and a couple things that you said here, I think is a practice that we are seeing more trucking companies adopt over time, and it's really staying in constant contact with candidates and your prospects, if you will. In today's market, in yesterday's market, in tomorrow's market, it is all about time to hire and lead to speed, and many times I get asked, well, are you nervous about automation in the marketing world? And I say, no, if anything, you still, number one, need a human element to it, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Always, always, always. In our industry and every other industry, but especially our industry, we're hiring people. But at the same time, it has been so commonly easy to apply to positions, whether it's one of those larger job boards and it's a one click apply and they can at the same time apply to 50 companies just with one click of the button. Those 50 companies are all receiving that lead, but then it's pre screening them to make sure that they actually fit your needs. And having that constant communication and reaching out to them, especially if they're not a good fit today because of the years of experience, for example, um, they will be in a year. And so by adopting that type of candidate management nurturing system, the companies that are really focusing on that now when the market does shift is something they're going to really be able to set themselves apart because they've already built this pool and they're continuing to nurture the pool. I mean, in so many ways, recruiting is sales. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, and this is when the truck ride gives us the opportunity to constantly keep in touch. The industry changes, we still have the same drivers, and once they receive this personal touch from us, and they come back. So, what when I mentioned that we did like set up basic tasks to be automated. One of them is, as you just said, if they don't qualify today, they will qualify tomorrow. So we have the opportunity to separate. Do I need to see this driver 1 year down the road? So we have those separate pools, email templates. Everything, of course, is automated and customized with the driver's name. So when they receive this email, it sounds that I just sent it, and we do consider each and every one of the drivers to be special, but we need to use the automated task
Yeah.
and the AI just because the volume to capture it, to manage it, to make sure you're in contact with everyone would be impossible without hiring 1,000 people in a call center. So
Right.
this is where we coexist, and
Mhm.
we go together with all of it that the software and the digital world offers us today.
Absolutely. And, Mike, I want to turn to you because, on the front end, Greta and her team are managing the applicant flow, having the conversations. But one of the number one reasons why drivers join companies is because of safety, right? So, very much safety plays an element in every key aspect from recruiting to retention to recognition. And I would love to learn from you What is your overall approach with safety, and how do you believe that's contributed to the success of the company over the years?
I think I'd just like to go back a little bit when we were talking about there's so many things we do right, and I don't mean that to sound in a boasting sentence, but something that you touched on earlier, as did Greta, is that communication with drivers.
Yes.
We both, interview drivers on different scales and communicate our information. But I can't tell you how many times, especially, since the industry has been soft, how many applicants, I think it was in the month of April, I believe we had 553 applicants alone just for Transpro. And there's numerous phone calls that we'll receive.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. That's just Transpro. That doesn't even include our other opcos. And then I get numerous phone calls, probably daily. And then I call them back. And it's interesting how many times I hear people say, "Thank you for calling me back." Because then I would talk to them, or maybe during an interview, and I'd ask them, "Have you applied somewhere else?" And they would say they never called me back, or they just kind of, leave them off to the side to figure out their answer, which I don't think is proper. It's not appropriate. If you've reached out with somebody, I mean, you should either follow through or say, this is where we're at, or the position's been filled. But there's that human element, and I know that we excel in that area on multiple levels, not just with drivers. But I think that's part of our culture, and it transfers into that, which I think talks about what you started off at the beginning, which is your retention. Mm-hmm. So when you see that
makes sense, and it's
as part of the, it's important that we have constant communication with them. And sometimes it's just a, "Hey, how are you?" Because, some drivers can be on the road 3 days, some 5, some could be, California, maybe there's an issue, maybe there's a road closure, whatever, what can we do to make it a little more comfortable for them out there, whether we put them up in a hotel, whether we cover a meal, whether we can help them get back on the road quicker, whatever it may be. When they have an issue, it becomes our problem, not theirs. So that's a little bit of our safety, but I just want to talk more about our culture, and I believe that culture is infectious at all of our KTG operating opcos. And I think the part of that which it transitions down to, I mean, I believe we already had that at Transpro when KTG acquired us. They took it to another level.
That makes sense, Mike, and thank you for bringing up communication as the key element, because that's what it comes down to, is overall communication. How the trucking company may have communicated with that driver after they first applied. There are so many companies out there that if a driver applies, they do not send them or give them a phone call to let them know maybe they're not the best fit for the position, or that all their positions are filled. And so that seems like a basic, absolutely, we should be communicating, but it's amazing. I've been in the industry for about 16 years and have had at KJ for 11. That's a step that often goes overlooked. And I'm curious what your thoughts are, being in the industry, being a driver, starting your career as a CDL with an active CDL. Why do you think that's something that's been often overlooked in trucking companies as a whole?
That's an interesting question. I really can't speak for the others. It really needs to be, it's got to be your culture. Either you're buying into this or you're not. And I think that kind of what we see, I see in particular, and I'm sure Greta does, but I'm saying when I do all of our road evaluations, we have a relatively small department. There's myself and my coordinator, Carol. She's been with our company 28 years. No training, a lot of drivers. And I'm not saying industry-wide. I'm just saying people that, we look at things and then we're trying to find out how things happened, or, how did they do it at their company, to try to get an understanding of what do they know, what do they need to know, and what do we need to bring them up to the rest of what the rest of our drivers are doing. We want them to all have the same information. And it's, you know, some of these companies are just, you got a license or you own your own truck and you're good to go. So we change the, you know, we embrace them, we bring them into our fold, we make them as part of the team. It's not, you're not, there's no such thing as just a driver. They're a spoke in the wheel of our success. And when everybody's firing on all cylinders, we can't help but succeed. And you know, we have meetings almost every day of the week in management, and so do sales and our maintenance team and our dock operations and with our operations and our drivers, and you know, we constantly use different formats to communicate things with them and get their feedback. And it's about the buy-in. It's about being part of the solutions, being part of the success. It's not just, you know, here's a bunch of deliveries, go do it, then I'll see you when you come back. That's gone the way of the dinosaur. That doesn't happen here at Transpro, and I don't believe it happens at any of our opcos within KTG as well. Drivers are people. The nice thing is our president was a former driver, and boots on the ground. And he does not want to do business with people that are going to treat their drivers like dogs, or they can't allow them to use something as simple as a washroom. And that does happen, not here, but we hear it less and less, which is good to hear. But we're also aligned with companies that, the nice thing is we're aligned with companies that want to do business with us. So we want our drivers being taken care of as when they're in these facilities, and know that they're safe. Mark Seymour, our president, he created a program called Safe Haven. So in our dispatch system, it'll show that if a driver goes to a certain location, he'll know, or she or the driver can actually stay on their property overnight, because truck stops get full, they run out of hours. It's a snowball effect. You could maybe knock off an hour early, you can stay there, take your mandatory required time off, and head out the next morning without any issues or people kicking you off the property. So Mark's a strong advocate for that. He's well recognized and spoken in the industry on various committees and councils and organizations, and he's made an impact, and we support things like that, because we need those initiatives in order to have drivers successful and be safe when they're on the road. So that's part of, I wanted to answer part of that when you talked about safety. It's kind of safety, it's a little bit of HR, it's a little bit of recruiting, it's a little bit of seasonings, and that's what makes it taste good.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I love the idea of the safe haven for a driver, but also specifically, it all usually stems from the top, right? So for leadership to have that experience being a CDL driver themselves, and then now into leadership and management roles, truly understand what it's like to be out there, away from your family, away from your friends, away from your kids, missing games. And so it really does come down to that overall communication and culture. Culture is a big word that recently, I'd say over the last 2 years, trucking companies have really tried to look at, okay, what is our culture? 20 years ago, it was just moving. Even 10 years ago. But one of the silver linings, if you will, of the pandemic is that it forced trucking companies to get aligned, to do Zooms, to do these podcasts, where your group may have been a little bit ahead of the curve. But I always say this, and the reason why I have this podcast is, whether it's your company or another company, we can, our biggest competition is industries outside of trucking. So if we share what's working, how to treat drivers well, how to have better relationships with shippers, so that is that trickle down, we're able to then keep folks within our industry versus, leaving the industry as a whole. And so, that is a really, really important point. And I agree, safety is very much, it's kind of it's the pulse of everything, through and through, that you can leverage in recruiting through the first phone call to the, retention of the driver to ensure that they're safe to meet standards. And then also it's a great practice for recognition. So I'd love to know, how do you think How does safety and recognition play a role in collaboration?
I think that's something we excel in. Um, I know when I was a driver, they used to have a banquet maybe once a year, and that's about all you had. Where we'll go, we'll do things with. There's a driver of the month program that we use with NAL, which is a third party insurance that they can use for when the drivers are out of town or in another country. We have professional driver of the year, safe driver of the year, high miler of the year, East Coast, West Coast. We do those as well as they get quarterly safety bonuses. We recognize our drivers for a clean inspection. I never had that. I'm not saying because we didn't have it. I mean, we're reinventing fire here. But these are things that we do. Somebody has to manage it. Somebody has to monitor it. And somebody needs to be able to recognize it. Within the company, it's fair. And we also have driver committees. So our driver committees can give us some feedback and, this is what they're like, or maybe it's not working. Here's an example through our driver committee. We found out that, our shower was dated. So our general manager, Peter Jenkins, he brought in a contractor, and last year we had the washroom, because there's like a shower here, and we had the shower totally remodeled.
Yeah.
I know it's not really recognition, but it's just kind of with the committee. We put in a brand new shower, tiles, everything, shower head, the whole thing. Getting back to the recognition, we like to recognize those drivers at our core annual safety meetings. We have 2 of those a year. Some companies, which we found Greta could attest to, don't do any at all. And why they don't, I can't answer that. But safety is paramount at Transpro and KTG companies. We bring in management. We'll bring in, some drivers have actually brought in their kids, or maybe they want to bring in their spouse. And we have these plaques and certifications, and whether it's a tenor thing where maybe they've been with us for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, 30. People have had, a clean inspection, or, a Million Mile Club. We've done those. We've made stickers and decals, and we put them, and they're really nice and professional. We put them on so they can be proud of that when they go down the road. We've done jackets. We've brought drivers before we're involved with a Fleet Safety Council of Ontario, and we brought them, and one of our drivers got an award for that, recognized by the Fleet Safety Council. I nominated them, and it just happened to be that they stood out amongst the other applicants that year. We do it through social media heavily, through our marketing manager. He does a fabulous job. Sean LeBlanc. We have an inter-program called KTG Connect, so we can see everybody's successes. Some people got married, somebody bought a house, someone had a child. We want their successes to be part of ours, and part of ours to be part of theirs. It's a two-way. It's not just always about the company. It's about them. So many different platforms we do this on. I mean, we just had a driver, here's an example, because there's criteria. We just had a truck driving championship in Kitchener last weekend, literally Saturday. And, our OpCos, Mill Creek and Kriska, and Transpro, and we put one of our drivers in, Serge Bukovic, and he actually placed third in tandem. There's a gentleman named Sean from Kriska who placed second. So their first year as rookies, not rookie drivers, but rookies in the competition, to basically take that category on and to finish in the top 3 and move on to the provincials in September 21st is amazing. And we've already done stories for them, and we'll be posting it internally. So yeah, that's just, again, we want them to be recognized. And, again, Sean will, he's quarterbacking this, and we're following his lead. And, the more that we can give them that recognition to spur them on to do better and help them train and give them some personal help. I've helped our driver in the yard surge, preparing for this, being a former competitor myself. Sometimes they ask for it. Sometimes I need to let them know that we're going to give them that help. So it's really, as I say, it's a culture, it's a family, and through our actions, we can back that up.
Jackie, if I can just
Please.
summarize, like for all of our companies, for all of our little brothers and sisters that join us over the years, we celebrate the drivers. So it's about recognition, but we do it through celebrating them. We use our social media accounts. We do stories about them, their families, how did they start, no matter what the occasion is. We have one of the sister companies doing handwritten birthday cards, including a little gift certificate. It's the human touch which people, commercial drivers on the road 5 days of the week, 6 days of the week, 2 weeks of the month truly appreciate.
That's well said. It's very much social media in so many ways, and I'll just say this again. Having a marketing media company for the last 11 years when Facebook came out, and I would be talking to trucking executives about the power of social. And back then, they were like, "Facebook? No, my grandkids on Facebook." Well, actually, now, when you look at the demographics, it is actually the baby boomers, the millennials that are on social, and now the Gen Z, they're on TikTok, and Snapchat, and all of that. But it's become this mechanism where trucking companies can honor and celebrate, like you said, Greta. I think that's the biggest piece, because you're not just recruiting and retaining the driver. You're recruiting, retaining, recognizing the driver through their family. So if the wife, the husband, the kids could say, "Hey, that's my dad that just got state driver of the year, or is nominated, or part of these truck drivers championships," it's a sense of pride, and it's a sense of praise. And so there was a study that was done recently on top reasons that drivers leave companies. And believe it or not, the number one reason, besides for pay, because we all know that's the same song and dance, but the number one reason was actually praise, not feeling recognized by their company. And granted, there's some companies out there like, well, we don't have a lot of, the margins are already slim. How do we do that? The power of thank you and social media is in essence, free, or you can get a low cost for that to be able to celebrate these drivers. But I truly believe that does go a long way as you build your talent pipeline, as you build the brand, to be able to not only use it on the recruiting side, but then the retention and the recognition that goes hand in hand.
We take a lots of calls like recruiting. Usually, when the driver is onboarded and it's past orientation, the file and the driver now belong with the safety department and operations as he's becoming an associate. We deal most with the candidates, in that first stage. So I always joke that we just do the kindergarten, and then for the rest of their life until they retire, we pass it to safety and operations. But still, because we open the door and we make that very special connection at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
with the driver, they do tend to call us from time to time. And so, sometimes it's just to vent. And you can imagine what difference it makes if I take 5 minutes to listen to them, um, to swear in 5 languages crossing the border, or they are grateful for that. Even if we share a cooking recipe, it really matters to them, the personal, that you know you still don't cut ties. And to me, they never become a number. I remember people that I hired 10 years ago. I remember people that I hired last year. I had people coming to the terminals to me to hug me and say, "Were you Greta? You gave me a chance." That's the
Mm,
biggest reward that you
that
know
is.
comes back to
Mhm.
us, and that we need.
That's full circle, especially from where you sit as a recruiting manager and front lines, getting that recognition. I know I started my career as a recruiter myself, and for a trucking company, and the amount of times that I've heard, thank you, you got me a local job because they were, OTR. Now I can make it to my kids' baseball game and little league game. Um, it's really why we do what we do as recruiters, right? If recruiters to your heart and soul. And so with the size and capabilities of the overall group, of your company, there's a lot of flexibility and options, but keeping that communication and that culture as the top of priority list that bleeds through, right? That just bleeds through the entire organization. I'd love to ask each of you a question. Um, what advice would you give to recruiters that are looking to improve their strategies and connecting with drivers in a digital world, right? In a digital age where it's so easy to, get often overlooked or be inundated by the number of applicants they have. What kind of baby steps would you give to advice would you give to new recruiters that are maybe joining the trucking industry?
Train the people properly, train the recruiters properly. The core of our job is, and I'm being honest, 75% patience and 25%, the HR skills. My background is in psychology, so I listen, and like within 5 minutes, I can pick up on a lot what the drivers need. Um, Step two will be use digital, use electronic. Take the simple, basic tasks out of your way, and make sure you invest the human touch with the driver. They want to be heard. They don't want to be a number. As Mike said at the beginning, so many drivers tell us, I never hear back. Oh my God, you called me. Oh, thank you so much. But I just applied. Well, that's the privilege. I get a notification, I pick up the phone, and I connect with them. So
Mm-hmm.
all of this matters. Create a flow of recruiting that will allow you to invest your HR hours in your drivers, not in sending emails, not in, to me, this is the key, the efficiency of the process.
And Mike, I'd love to hear from you with your all of the wealth of experience you have. What advice you would give to recruiters that are looking to improve their communication and connection with drivers to ultimately retain them and recognize them through and through.
I think if they could take even, one page out of Greta's book, I think they'd be that much further ahead. Having been in the industry for 42 years, there's nobody better. And I say that wholeheartedly. Everything that Greta talked about, I support 100%. I think what people are, just to touch on that human touch aspect of it, they're people, they're applying for a job. And you have to change that mentality. We've gone the way of the dinosaur. They're not just truck drivers anymore. Trucking way back then was so revered to be, whether you were a dentist or a truck driver, it was, people being proud of. Be honest, be transparent,
Right.
be genuine, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. And most importantly, follow up. Where we've had drivers come to us, and as we said, during an interview, and nobody got back to them. Well, they're in our fleet now, because we acted quickly, swiftly, promptly. We kept constant communication with them. They liked it. Some of them are already on the road. Some maybe have already left. And it's through that process of the recruiting, is all those things that I've mentioned, and Greta. It's I can't say it any better. She said the human touch, and that's just how would you want to be treated if you were applying and you came through that front door, and what's that first impression of that company that you're going to leave that driver when they leave? Are you the same as everybody else, or they go, oh, you have such a beautiful building, thank you so much for your time? You can tell when people are being genuine. And I think that that first impression is that first call, that first email, that don't be fake, be sincere, and if you're planning on bringing them on, treat them like they're your family. They're going to be with you for a long time. That's why you want to bring them on, and the rest is vital. But that's my take on it.
No, thank you for sharing that. And we have our driver following of 250,000 drivers that follow us, and they listen to this show. And from the communication, Greta, you and I have had over the last couple of months has been, above par. Let's just say that. And so the communication, the culture that you guys speak, it is true. You walk the walk, very much so. And there are a lot of opportunities available between the multiple groups. But Greta, if you could share with the audience what opportunities are available for potential drivers in the future, either today or in the future, that would be great.
We hire company drivers and owner operators. As I said, it's the variety that we offer of short and long terms, which of course will accommodate every lifestyle, every earning goals that people have. Something else which I'm very happy to have the opportunity to offer is, as I said, we have terminals and companies all the way from the Windsor up to Quebec. And it gives us the opportunity to offer the drivers internal transfer. Should I need change, should a marital status change, a baby comes along, people are moving from Mississauga or Belleville down to London, we transfer internally, so it's multiple opportunities to choose from and stay within the family. Always my biggest goal is to stay within the family, and we get those calls often. We offer the driver will keep their seniority. It wouldn't be interruption, except let's say they're moving to whatever time they require to move. Wouldn't be interruption to their income. They don't have to apply everything from the beginning, and have like 2 weeks here without an income. In a moment like this, we offer this to them.
Mm.
Stay with Kriska family. We're gonna do the best that we can. We will try to accommodate you. So that's huge. Full load, LTL, short, long, overnight, local, corridors. It's an amazing opportunity to have.
Well, fantastic. And to the drivers that are listening, link to connect and learn more about the KTG trucking group and all the wealth of opportunities that are available. There will be a link down in the show notes. And I could say this, Michael and Greta, I could speak to you both for a very long time. And just the wealth of experience that you both have, and the compassion, and how much you care truly about not just being a number and really being part of the family, internal staff to the drivers specifically, it shows. And it shows in everything that you're doing. So we could not recommend, checking them out if you're in the area, and they have so many opportunities available. So I just wanted to say thank you, Greta, and thank you, Michael, so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
I appreciated being on here. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. And that concludes another episode of Attention Retention. Thank you two again so much. And thanks for our listeners for tuning in. Remember, this road to success begins with effective recruitment, thoughtful retention, and genuine recognition. Feel free to share this knowledge with your peers and industry colleagues. Your sharing can make a difference. Together, we can empower the industry to thrive. Until next time.